Hello YouTubies, this is King Scribe and thank you for watching this YouTube video. Now when I was younger I was studying all the standard stuff that you tend to study in college and schools. So we're talking about English, we're talking about maths and science. And indeed I will go against the flow a little bit here, saying that these subjects are useful at a certain level. For instance, with maths you might need to learn how to estimate your cost of your groceries as you're going along, add up, subtract, do some percentages work, do some racial work, account definitely, and working out your bills and how to pay it and how to subtract from money, etc. So these things are useful to a certain extent, but after that, after GCSE stuff, I don't really see the relevance in how that's going to help most people in life. And indeed, the people in the college who I went to next were pretty useful actually, because they warned me of this. I was actually warned prior to going to college, saying you can do maths and further maths if you want to, but we're not sure exactly how that's going to help you in the future. So I would actually go against the flow of the alternative community here and say that they do help people, but they don't really seem to understand that these subjects really don't help many people anyway. They understand that it doesn't help some people because they're never going to get to a certain level, but they don't seem to understand that most people tend to forget everything they learned. And indeed I forgot everything I learned in maths and further maths. Everything. Almost everything. I mean, the basic stuff which I learned in even G.C.S.E, most of that's gone from my head. I mean, I can't even properly work out how to do the angles in a triangle anymore, using sine, cos and tangents. I mean, I'm still trying to remember that stuff, but it's gone from my head because it was so long ago. And I think this is the thing that people seem to misunderstand, when they're going to colleges and schools. They think that these things are going to stick with them for the whole life, and it won't. If you're not using them all the time, it's never going to stay there because your brain just doesn't work that way. I mean, some things might help you remember them later on, but if you're not using it all the time, you're going to forget it. And most people will not use things like A-level maths and further maths in their life. And even chemistry, for instance, which I did study, is practically useless for me now. Useless. I mean, the only thing it's ever come useful for me is knowing how to use bleach, or how to let's say that. So that's about the most useful thing it's ever done for me, is how to mix bleach, and that's it. So I mean, unless you're going to become some type of professor, or you're going to work in some industry, and even then you're going to use only small amounts of that A-level stuff, it's not really going to be something you're going to remember. So based on my life and my life experiences, and being in the world of qualifications a kind of average person, I mean, I did pass my A-levels, but that doesn't matter. I'm still, if you're talking about people going for degrees and PhDs, I'm pretty much average in that regard. I wish I didn't study any of those subjects, because you might pass them, you might get good results, but in the end, unless you go on to further education after that and get your PhDs, you're not really going to use them. If you just stop at A-levels like I did, it might help you get a job, but that's about it. It's just a byproduct to say, listen, I can do the work, and they go, all right, start cleaning the car over there, use your chemistry, go on, do that. See how many cars there? Well, you finish one car, there's 4 to go. There's your subtraction from 5, and that's basically what you do. It's nothing more than that. Now, I've done better jobs than that, obviously, but what gets to me now is every single subject that I avoided when I was younger. I avoided these subjects. Things like media studies, things like art, woodwork, electronics, and in some ways even fucking cookery would have been more useful for me now than any of the subjects I studied in college, any of those A-levels, because I use these all the time. I wouldn't mind knowing how to cook properly. You have to get Phoebe to do it because I can't do it properly, which is sad at my age. I agree. I mean, that's sad. I wish somebody taught me how to do it properly because that would be more useful. I did take some cookery lessons when I was younger, but that was it. I forgot all that, and I wish I carried that on. And history, by the way, I used to find history fucking boring. It's just because the way it's taught. If it was taught a bit better, a bit more excitingly, and more interesting for the people, like how the people live, and try to build it up in your head, the imagination, building the stories up, and they're just like you and me. They weren't living in a black and white world, by the way. That would have been more useful. Philosophy would have been more useful. So things like maths, further maths, physics, chemistry, and even English. English is not too bad, but after G.C.S.E, no use at all. I mean, you still even make mistakes when you pass these shit stuff. You're still going to make mistakes. It doesn't really matter what you study. You're still going to forget most of what you've learned, but if you're using it all the time, that's a big difference. Now, let's say going ahead 90 years later, alright, because I'm 70 according to some people on YouTube. Well, when I was studying in these colleges and not universities, colleges and schools. I mean, it was schools and college, by the way. It wasn't colleges and schools. When I was studying in college and schools, I never realised how big the internet would get. In fact, I didn't even know about it. All right, I finished college in '96. All right, I finished school in '94. So when I was finishing those, the internet still wasn't around properly. I mean, the internet was there, but people didn't know about it. Very few people knew about it. It was just businesses, etc. It was just doing that stuff. It started to hit off back in the '98 or '99. I remember seeing it first in 1999 in certain places in Manchester, and I realised that was getting big, and they had videos up on it, and it was those old dial-up lines doing something like 56 kpb whatever per second, and that was interesting. In fact, it was getting big, the internet back then. There's many websites about and many things popping up, but even then it wasn't clear exactly that this thing would be useful. I mean, some people with tremendous intuition on YouTube realised back in 2005 that was going to be big, and they start to build their channel up based on that. But I never knew the things I would do in the future on the internet. I mean, I'm not anybody big on the internet, but I do it as a hobby, and I'm passionate about it. I love doing it. I love making videos. I love being stupid on the internet, and I love talking sensibly sometimes on the internet as well. I do many sensible videos, and that means that I should have been studying media studies. But me studying media studies when I was college or school, I never thought I would do anything like that. I never thought that would be common on YouTube or anything, because it just wasn't around back when I was younger. And then art, I have to do thumbnails for each video. I never realised I was going to need that. I never realised I was going to do any photoshopping or whatever, or doing some artwork for channels or what. I never knew this stuff was going to happen. Computers, I mean, people are taking the piss out of those. I mean, we thought that computers were just for, doing spreadsheets, etc. Nobody really thought it was going to be useful, although some colleges and schools were saying it was useful. And woodwork. People were taking the piss out of people who were studying things like woodwork, art, media studies, and cookery, etc. But these type of qualifications would prove most useful for most people out there in the world, especially if you're doing the internet stuff, especially cookery. It's weird. It's weird. The things that you really need to study for your life are the things that colleges and schools don't teach properly. They really don't teach it properly, and it's a shame, because I regret studying in college now. I regret it, because it's brought on absolutely nothing, no useful skills whatsoever. What, maths? You think maths is useful? You think memorising your digits and your chemistry formulations is useful? It's just knowledge, and that goes sooner or later. Now, if I had the skills, now that's different. If I had the skills like, woodwork skills, and I learned that from school or college, that would have been more useful for me. I could then make a table, I could then fix the house up, I could then do some plumbing. That's very useful. In fact, that would be most useful. And even computers to an extent, if you learn how to build them, how to use them, that's useful. Artwork, useful, because you might want to do some designs for the house, you might want to do something for the internet or something. All useful. If you're good at art, you can make yourself a t-shirt or something, a decent designer t-shirt. There's many things you can do with it. And even electronics would have been something I wouldn't mind taking up back then. But as it is, I think I studied the wrong things in school and colleges. I really do. The things I should have really been studying are the things I most avoided. And it's ironic. It is ironic that somebody like me, I was very shy when I was younger, should have been studying media studies, because that would have been more useful for, let's say, a future job or future hobby than anything I was studying in college or university. Well, university, no, college or school. Why do they keep on calling schools and colleges universities? They're not. I never went to university, although I might say it as a troll sometimes, but I've never been to university. I won't do anything like that. It's just a waste of time, waste of money. And unless you're going to become a PhD professor, you're not going to get anywhere with it. Or unless you go become a doctor or something. So, yeah, I regret what I did when I was younger. I wish I did it differently. And I'm now having to learn my hobby. I'm now having to learn my passions on my own. So with art, I'm now having to learn how to do photoshopping using MS Paint. I'm having to learn as I'm going along, and how to act in front of the camera. I don't always do the right thing. In fact, I'm probably 100% natural anyway. I just act like the way I normally would. It's a little bit more complicated than that, of course. If somebody was studying media studies, they would understand how to do it properly. But at least, I can talk in front of the camera. But I would never, I never thought when I was younger that I would be talking in front of a fucking camera, alone in a room. I never thought I would be like that, honestly. It turns out I've turned into a sad fuck. No, I never thought that was going to happen. I know it's a hobby. But hobbies are important. It's a passion in life. It's one of the reasons why you live, is to do your hobbies and your loves and your joys. That's the reason why we actually live in the first place. So, maths, not useful. English is very useful. People seem to, say that English is something like a waste of time when they're talking about the subject studied. But you can't communicate without English. So anything above English G.C.S.E. is probably not worth studying if you're not going to become a writer or whatever. But at least GCSE standard, I think people should be studying that. I have to admit, it is useful in your life to be able to communicate. I know some people say, oh, you can't communicate properly, Scribe. Yeah, you're right, I can't. Because half the time I fucking pissed on YouTube. But I just wanted a bit of a ramble. I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that, I should have been studying something different when I was younger? Or do you think I've done the right thing and wasted my time and forgot everything I learned? Honestly, I wish I was studying, cookery. That would have been more useful for when I was older. I'm now 70 years old. Yeah. Some people on YouTube seem to say, Square, you're 70 years old. I'm 70 years old, even though I left school back in the 90s. I'm 70 years old. I'm an old man, and I regret what I studied when I was younger. I do. I wish I was studying I wish I studied something different when I was younger. It's what beer does to your fucking head, guys. So yeah, thank you for watching. Goodbye for now. See you later.